Hey everyone, this is Otsu for another edition of Observations with Otsu. We're going to cover how last week went down as we've officially gone into the new week. So we have another closing candle on that time frame to observe. We're going to look at how things are setting up for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and we're going to also compare the two together with ETH BTC. We're also going to cover Binance. We might cover FTT as well, since we've had a little fiasco with all that. And we'll probably cover Sol on top of that, since Solana's probably more important for most people. I personally don't have any FTT, but I do have a Sol bag, so I guess we'll take a look at that as well. In addition to that, I am starting a new boot camp of sorts called Apex Academy. It's going to be a 12-week boot camp. It's going to be very intense. It's going to have over 50 hours of video in the span of 12, probably 14 weeks if it lands over the Christmas and New Year's holidays. Over 50 hours of content. It's going to share the 3 strategies I use. The main one being Arun. A lot of you have been interested in this. I am the only one. I'm probably one of only 10 people to even use Arun, but I'm the only one that actually has a lot of active strategies with it. And I believe the time is right to now start to bring that out into the open, so that way I'm not as cryptic about it. And showing these are real strategies that I use. People can learn from them. In addition, I'm also going to teach momentum and trend-based strategies, both from how they are used in general and how I personally use them. And then I'm also going to cover price action trading for those 2 methods as well. So over 50 hours, I think it's like 53 hours of video, 3 trading strategies, 4 Arun bots, and then I'm going to have education, even more education content on top of that. 2 market overviews a week, and I'm going to do some workshops, kind of some live trading. I'll do some historical example trading, things like that. I got a lot planned, more than I can just share here, but that's something that's I've already had some good interest in. It's about 70 to 75% full. So if you're listening and wanting to get involved, just message me on Twitter or Telegram. I'll continue to message this, and I'm probably going to keep advertising that for the rest of this month. At this pace, what is it? Today's November 6th. I think I started mentioning it like November 3rd, and it's already 75% filled. So good chance it's going to get filled 100% before the end of the month, probably before the end of the week, honestly. I think if I continue to get the pace I'm getting, I might extend some seats as well. So just keep that in mind. And I'll mention that both on my Twitter and my Telegram. So keep in mind, 12-week course. Planning to start that sometime in December. Maybe January 2nd at the latest, but probably in December. Probably the 2nd week or so, but keep that in mind as well. Alright, so going into this, let's go ahead and look at the total market cap and see what we got here on the weekly. We always go top down, so we could go on a higher time frame, but weekly is usually where I start off. We want to observe here. Let's kind of go ahead and get rid of all this stuff. And as you can see, we had a little bit of a bullish week last week. Not much. We kind of had a Darth Maul going on. We didn't really have much going on price or news wise. And I'm not a news person anyway. If you are familiar with my channels and things like that, I purely look at the charts. We have had a bullish consolidation that started here, confirmed on this candle from last week, so we're going into this. into a bullish consolidation pattern. This is pretty wide, so I'm expecting this to continue. And I don't really see any reason why it shouldn't. We're still kind of in this pattern here. The previous candle from 2 weeks ago was not really part of any bullish breaker or anything like that, so this is still pretty clean on the weekly. And honestly, there's not much to report with this. There's no real trend to kind of observe yet. I mean, we might have something like this, maybe. So we could see a drop down. I don't really do this kind of analysis on total though. We have something like that, and I suppose this can work. Breaks above, it's a good sign. If not, we're heading back down. Pretty simple, right? So we got that going on. Let's get rid of those, and we can go back to the candlesticks. One thing I'm also noticing is the oscillator is going up. That's a good sign. Just keeping this pretty simple. We're still below the 50 on the RSI, so nothing, pretty boring on the 1 week for now. But this is a telltale sign. Like, we are still holding this. We're still holding from down here, and I've been pretty vocal about this could be our low. And I honestly think if we can get above right here, the 1.21 trillion, I really think the bottom could be in, especially if we get above this up 1.29. And it's as simple as that for me. We could go lower. It's very possible. We are getting signs that the economy may still be in some trouble. I don't know. I don't really focus on it in that regard. But that's what we see on the total. Now, if we zoom into the daily, we had a good price action impulse trend going up. This was all nice and healthy, and we can see this is still holding here. And it's kind of hard to determine, like, if this is just a channel, if this is going to spring up or go down below. We have a candle here, and we get a higher high here, mixed with another higher high on the RSI. So this is not a divergence by any means. And again, this is a total market cap, not a coin, so take that with a grain of salt. Had the bearish wedge confirmed with this candle. So what we could see, something like this, and then back up. So this week, I think we might have a CPI this week. I don't know for sure. I should have looked that up, but I believe that we do. And if we, to me, that kind of goes in confluence to what I'm thinking with A-Rune, that I think we might just get a ranging week this week. I don't think this is going to be an exciting week. We just had a past bullish 2 weeks compared to the previous 4 months, and so I think we might just cool off this week. Relative to what I see here, I don't think it's going to be particularly bullish or bearish, and so I won't go into lower time frames on the total, so because I'm going to have some extra coins to cover. Let's go to Bitcoin and see, can we see, get rid of all the stuff here, and we'll go on the weekly. So again, had a candle pretty similar to the total. Had the bearish candle before then, bearish A-Rune consolidation. Everything is smooth. This is almost exactly mimicking the total market cap, as we see. A-Rune band still shows that we are bearish. The median line for the A-Rune is to 27, so we still got a way to go before we can add. So once this turns blue, we can confirm that it can be a bullish trend like this, but it could also do something like this if it's below this trend. So blue means that the bullish trend is forming. If it's blue and above the black line, which is called the median line, and I'll cover this in my Apex Academy, that means the trend is confirmed. So Um, you know, right here would be a bearish trend that's not confirmed, and that's one reason it canceled. Bullish trend, it went up, and then when this bullish trend went down, it was a sign that it was still weak. So you want both things to happen, depending on what side of the market you want to be on. But that's a little hint into the A-rune band. But again, we're still covering. Let's see here. From this 20 marker, we kind of. Let's see, where is it at here? On the 1 weekly, this is held, and this is one reason why I'm not bearish anymore, because until this breaks, I've said this so many times, until this breaks, why should we think about any lower lows? Now, I've seen the theories why we could, and I think there's a good chance that we can. I'm not going to discount that, but right now, that's not my focus. My focus is we just double bottomed on literally the biggest point, like literally the top from 2017. Okay, so there's if there is a major sign, this is it. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. We also had this overthrow here that went up. I've mentioned this is where Elon put Bitcoin into Tesla, and I think he took it out somewhere around here. Don't really care too much about that, but we did double bottom right at the time, right at the same area where we should bounce, and we're struggling because of the market interest, but I think that's going to grow. Again, the bearish consolidation here, but other than that, this is pretty healthy. I think you could even consider this a bull div. That's a pretty generous slant though, so I think it's easier to see on the 3 day. Let's see, don't know why I picked 2 day. I think it's the 5 day. Let's see, yeah, this is a little more still slightly generous, but that is a bull div that is working its way up, and anyway, you can see it there. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for this to cross above. This is why I have this RSI marked out. I get interested in long-term buys when it hits the blue shaded area, and then when it hits the actual blue line itself, which is the halfway point, usually would go up. And here's an example right here. If you bought in here, you might have lost some money up until 31,000. But the idea is like wait for it to go below the blue into the white portion, buy here, so you would have bought at 33.9, and then wait for it to expand above. So I mean, that would have been at least 45, probably 50 if you would have held it somewhere around here, and if you didn't give it up there. So that's rough. That's another thing I'll probably teach in the Apex Academy. On the daily, so we had this is the big structure here, the slob structure that I've mentioned, where we got some supply going on here. We broke above it, broke above again. This is kind of diverging here. Don't really have any strong confirmation of that, but then we also got the bearish wedge forming, so that makes me think we could see a pullback sooner rather than later, honestly. And I think one thing we can look at is hitting this area here, and I know that's not too far away, but another area that I was looking at was right here, and I think it doesn't show up very well on the 1 day, and doesn't show, where's it at? That might be clean. I don't know. I thought I saw a breaker there. Um, yeah, that might be clean. Maybe I was looking at a different coin. But yeah, I think we will at least touch base here, and then we'll get a decision point whether to long or to short that. Another thing to keep in mind is this meme trend. Long above this, short below it. And if we touch close here, if we go down sooner rather than later and touch this red area, I think that's more likely that we bounce as well. So that's something to consider for Bitcoin. Ethereum is next, and let's go to a different chart that has less stuff on it. Delete everything. 1 week. So very similar again, but we actually had a bearish week last week in comparison. Nothing much new to report. Same bullish Abraham consolidation, and that's just another sign that I think that this market is going to be at a minimum in a bullish range for the rest of the year. And that's one thing I notice here is like, so the markers are at 71 and 7. So, and interestingly enough, Arun works in 7s. So this makes me think that the bullish consolidation has one more week to go until it turns into a wedge. So consolidations like this turn into wedges when they hit the bottom. Once that happens, the trend becomes stronger. So as you can see, the consolidation was struggling, started here. So from this area to this area was a bullish consolidation, period. And it did a little bullish, but it pretty much stayed even, right? But once it got here, it turned into a wedge. And as you can see, the wedge became much more strong. The price action did. So that's what I mean is consolidation is gearing up, like it's going in the opposite direction of the main trend, whereas a wedge is, all right, it's starting a new trend. Another thing that I'll teach in Apex Academy. Let's go to the daily. And I've mentioned this before. Have a very obvious flip of trend here. Consolidation down, consolidation up, consolidation retest, and now we're going into a period honestly very similar to this structure right here. And you can kind of see it didn't, it kind of stayed more of a channel until it broke. That's something that we could see as well. It's just a theory though. It's still trying to set up something, but what I'm looking at is this structure right here. And so I can see a drop and still be bullish in its structure to about 1480. I would be concerned if it breaks this, however, and if it does, I would probably short this to at least down to 1360. You definitely don't want this area to be lost, because now you're contesting with the lows. But I think so far we're good. There's no reason to panic. We just had 2 good weeks of bullish price action, and I think that's a pullback is healthy. So I think we won't spend too much time on the ETH BTC, other than it's kind of just consolidating in this huge range, trying to make a big decision on this, and honestly it's just ranging back and forth. It's starting to do a bearish cross, but it's so high that there's nothing really to say here. It's just fighting for a trend, and that's pretty normal in this kind of market as well. Until we get more interest in the market, I think that Bitcoin and Ethereum are just going to fight back and forth. Let's just skip on to Binance coin. So weekly, we had a much more bullish price action than previous. You can also see how the A-rune has affected that differently. We went to a full trend, and the bearish trend tried to cross and it failed. So this is telling me that we're either setting up for a full bull trend to come for Binance, or we're setting up for a bullish or bearish consolidation at some point. But we can't confirm that for another 2 weeks. So right now, lots of indecision. This is kind of what I see right now. Big area to flip, and we have some resistance point here, but we are also stuck in kind of this too. So we're kind of in two different ranges here. And so, I mean, the big, too long didn't read is you want to long above this, short below that. Just as easy as that. This is a very clean chart in comparison to a lot of other charts. And we can see here we had a good range consolidation, expansion. Now we're retesting here. So if you are interested in Binance, this is probably the way where to consider maybe adding longs, because this is relatively clean. We had the down structure, rounded top, expansion, breakthrough, down. And so what happens here is you could do one of two things. You could do a long here, and I'm not sure where I would put this honestly, but let's say we did something. I would probably target this structure, so I'd probably want to put it below that structure, and then let's say do something like that, right? So that would be something that's clean for a long. Now what happens is if this price action goes below this line, now that would be considered a deviation instead of a breakout. And so that's where the market structure would change. So in that point, I would wait till this broke down, and then you could start shorting. And then you'd probably be safe to target the top of this. Let's see what my liquidity says. And we even have a sell signal. So I'd probably target something like that. And then probably target the range low of this. And see, as you can see, that's not a very good reward. Let's see if we can find something else down here. So I think probably what I would do with this, if this broke down, and let's say I think it would be okay to start this structure, this would be much more of an easier target. So something like that, a little riskier, not too much because of the 8%, but that's something that I would consider if we lost that level. So something to consider. And then we will go to, let's go to FTT really quick. I don't really care about it too much, but they had the argument, Sam and CZ had the argument about stuff like that. As far as, and you can look on Twitter for that, everybody's talking, but as far as the structure, nothing's really changed too much, although we did close as an engulfing, so that's something to consider as well. We are still holding the overall weekly structure, but if you want the microstructure on the 1 week, we kind of broke that. But one thing I would want to consider is just because we break this doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to continue down. It can. But one thing to consider is if we break above, that's a good sign to get back in. And so structure-wise, this is pretty shaky. I'm not personally into this right now. We have a very wide bullish A-rune consolidation, which would normally bring something like this in the next month. We will see. I'm not trading this. I don't intend to. And if you ask me, I would probably wait until $28. Just because it's not on my radar. Um, Daily's just really ugly in that regard. Again, I wouldn't touch this. There's better coins to look at as well. So I'm gonna look at Sol for my final coin. And one thing to consider is we had a pretty terrible. That's a pretty terrible candle, and I think part of it had to do with the FTT fiasco as well. This is really not something I want to see. Aaron's still healthy, same consolidation as before, but we still have this structure that we thought we broke out, and then we didn't. I was actually going to long Sol. I do have a small bag. I was going to make a bigger bag, but this is going to prevent me from doing so. So that's pretty weak there. And as you can see, turns into a deviation. This is another coin I just wouldn't touch right now with all the drama going on, but I would like to see a jump above 37 before I got involved. And I mean, maybe a short under 30, but this structure is so complex that I don't think I would really toy with it. And we also are at the RSI 50, so the Aaron is trying to cross bearish. We'll see. This is one that I would rather let it play out and play the after effects of that. But I think Bitcoin, Ethereum, and there's some other alts like Matic that are just way better for you. You know, something like this. This is really clean. You know, you can long this now or short if it deviates below. Things like that. So I would personally avoid Sol for the moment until you get like a good high time frame structure. So anyway, that is it. Wednesday I'm going to have a more casual video going on, probably like an hour long, just going through some more coins and just seeing how they flow. Don't forget about the Apex Academy thing. I've got 75% of my spots filled, so look out for that, and then I will see you next time. Thank you.